So we're ready to start Unit 2 now, and Unit 2, as you can see, is the statistics in one variable. So with one variable, we're going to just be measuring one thing at a time, and I'm going to go through some examples today to show you how we gather that information and organize it. And we've lost all of the frequency numbers that we had filled in. What we're going to do next is we're going to organize this information in a number of different ways. We're going to do things like bar graphs, histograms, stem and leaf plots, and I'm going to show you how to do each of those. And for different data or different information, it is more useful to use one or the other of the different types of graphs to represent the data so that we can get a good feel for what it's telling us. So I will give you some homework questions to try just creating the frequency table. So try those questions and then we'll move on and look at the different kinds of graphs. September, another November, another said March, April, June, January, and so on. And so we're going to organize this data, and we're going to, the first thing we're going to do is put it in what's called a frequency table. So here's our frequency table down here, and all we need to do is just count. This is just simply counting, and every time that we find one that goes into a certain category, we're going to put a tick. And so in the tally column right here, we're just going to keep track with these little sticks or ticks every time we see one of the items that falls into this category. So they've done the tally for us. If we go through and we count up the Januaries, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that's a June, 4. And so they put 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks. So the total frequency, the total number of people in the class who have a birthday in January is 4. So all we do is total it up and put it there so it's in a more easy to read fashion. Now if you notice down here for September, once they got to 5 ticks, the 5th tick is just a horizontal line through the other 4, so that we bundle them in groups of 5, and that makes them a lot easier to count up. We can just skip count 5, 10, 15, and so on, and add them up more quickly. In this case, we had one bundle of 5 and one more left over, so in September we would have a total of 6. So that's the next thing that we want to do, is just go through and add up all of our ticks and put some numbers in the columns, because these numbers are going to be what we need to use going forward. And I'm running out of space there. I can't quite hit December, unfortunately, but you can fill that in. So this is a really interesting problem. I don't know if your teachers in math classes have ever asked you before to do a show of hands in terms of when your birthdays are. With 30 students in a class and 365 days in the year, you would think that it would be relatively rare for 2 students to have the same birthday. In just a class of 30, you would think you would need at least 365 people in the class for you to get a matching pair. There's a really interesting example of what that probability actually is, and it's quite surprising. In a class of 30, there's a 71% chance almost of having 2 people in that same class who actually have the same birthday out of all the 365 days in a year. If you want to read some more information about that, I'm going to show you a website. And this is the Math is Fun website, and you can search it if you're interested in reading it. It's very interesting, a little bit mind-boggling, that it can be that high of a percentage with only 30 people in the room. And when we start the second half of the course and we're talking about probability, then this will make a little bit more sense to you. But it's sort of nice to have a problem like that in the back of your mind and be thinking it over before we get there. And then sometimes when we're learning the material, it makes a lot more sense as to why we need to know this and how it helps us answer certain problems like the birthday problem. So let's go back to our frequency table for a minute.